I'm Brad Culver. I'm one of the owners, and I'm the head distiller here. So 1205 is the date Prohibition was repealed, December 5th, 1933. Celebrating Prohibition ending because otherwise we wouldn't be here. It's a date that we feel should be celebrated. Obviously we celebrate it, but everyone should. I mean, you're drinking margaritas on Cinco de Mayo, why wouldn't you be drinking a cocktail on 1205? I actually started, a friend of mine talked me into making wine, and I enjoyed that, but I drank more whiskey than wine. And making spirits is pretty involved, so it's just a lot to sort through. At the time, there wasn't really any kind of, now there's a lot of classes you can take, and there are a lot of YouTube videos. That was not really a thing back then. This was 12 years ago. But I found a few books, and so I just started making it at home just for fun. And after a few years of that, I thought I might have a chance to make a career of it, so I started apprenticing with some places out in Colorado where I lived. And then the opportunity to move back to Indianapolis came up to move back and open 1205. So, I mean, any small business to go through is a ton of different things, but we started kind of bootstrapped, and so finances were always an issue. I had a better training than maybe some just because I did get to work with some of the distilleries before I started this, but when you go out on your own and start something new, you're gonna have mistakes, and there's that whole side of things. Building this place, it was almost 8 years ago now, so September 29th, I was installing a door. I made a bad cut with a miter saw, and I took off my finger. Every bone and tendon in the back of the hand, put the saw through it, and had to lose the pinky, but I got to keep the rest. And so a few months later, we were making our first rye, and I think we'd been maybe tasting some of the new spirit a little bit, and I think I just was like, well, it'd be kind of funny to do Four Finger Rye, and it took off from there, and now all the whiskeys are under the Four Finger name, and so it's a lot of fun. I often say, like, I'm glad I did it like here, building this place, rather than just like at home putting in a cabinet or something, and doing everything one-handed for the first, half of the year when I'm brand new at professional distilling, and on my own at least. And yeah, it was a challenge for sure, but it worked out. There was a lot of good people in the company even then, and Nolan, my business partner, helped me out a lot, and yeah, it worked out okay. We throw a party on the anniversary. It's actually, obviously, it's coming up, so the finger blast. Well, we just got double gold for one of our whiskeys, the Peated, which is actually a brand new one, out on the market at least. We've been kind of toying with it for the last few years, but so it's cool. It's a local peat that they harvest in Fort Wayne, Indiana. Our grain supplier smokes the barley with the peat moss, and then we make bourbon out of it, and it's really good, and it was cool to get that recognition. And we've had a handful of others throughout the years, but this one was cool because it's new, and it was at the state fair, and yeah, it's fun. One thing I really enjoy making is I make whiskey from beers. Local breweries will make a beer, and maybe it didn't turn out the way they wanted, or maybe they made too much of it, or whatever it might be, and we're able to take that beer, distill it, put it into a whiskey barrel, and it creates a super unique flavor because you've got the hops, and you've got the grain, and you've got all these different components and malt. So yeah, so we've released a handful of those throughout the year, and we've got one of those releases coming up soon. That was done with Fountain Square Brewery, which is just down the road. So I make an Absinthe, which is not unheard of. There's a few others regionally that make it. I've been drinking a lot of the Absinthe lately. Yeah, it's good for the summer. So I do Absinthe and tonic. It's so good, and it's a really strong flavor, but it's still kind of light in character. But it's definitely a unique spirit for the American palate. It's a very strong flavored spirit and strong in alcohol content. Ours is at 120, so it's a strong spirit. That's super fun. I make a coffee liqueur from the coffee roasters across the street, so that's really good, and that one is only available here. I make a Rhubarb Liqueur, which is actually our top-selling spirit. That's been super popular for us. Rhubarb is a flavor that isn't necessarily utilized on a mass market too much, but it's something that most people in Indiana have some sort of connection to, whether it's my grandma had it, or I ran over it with a lawnmower and I got in trouble, or whatever it might be. It's pretty nostalgic, I would say, and it's been really fun working with it. I've had people in tears after sipping it because it reminds them of grandma so much, or their parents, or whoever it might be. So that's always fun. We make a drink called the Giggle Water. When we set it down in front of them, there's always giggling because you spin the glass on them, and you know. The building itself was built in 1925, so it's a 100-year-old building. It was originally a bank, and when we came in here, we took it down to the bones and had to replace some of the bones, and then built it back up. And so this wall over here, you've got your plaster covering, and then you've got your brick, and honestly, we were stripping that off to expose all the brick, and then got distracted with other projects because it was a big project. And by the time we came back to it, we had already fallen in love with the kind of mishmash look that we created. And so I'd say a lot of, and Westfield kind of is the same way in that we've exposed some of the history in the building and left some and modernized some, and we're kind of this blend between old and new. And that's sort of how I approach spirits as well, as we're using kind of some traditional methods, but we've got a more modern still setup and doing some unique things with some historic products like gin, making it more botanical forward and not super piney, so that creates a different flavor, obviously. So typically when a tour comes in, depending on time of the day, but generally we'll have time and we'll bring them over into the distillery and do a tour, show them around, a short explanation, show them the barrel room, and show them what we do here. And then we get to sample them on some of our spirits, and then we can, if there's time, we can do cocktails as well. But generally, it's a really fun time because we're a smaller place, but we still have some stuff that people haven't seen before, and people have a really good time. So we're partnered with Greek's Pizza, two separate businesses, but we kind of share the space. So we're essentially the front of house, and we're the bar, and then they're the kitchen. And it works out good. They make really good pizza. It's super consistent, and we have full flexibility to do whatever we want because they don't do that side of things really, and it's a good partnership. 1205 is all about being kind of laid back, accepting of everyone, but it's also depending on the night, it can be you can come in and have a wild time, or you can just be mellow, and either way, you're gonna find a corner to hang out in here, and yeah. This video is brought to you by Top Shelf Tours.
Let Top Shelf tour you around Indy's best local breweries. We can fit up to 14 of your friends on one bus and take you to 3 or 4 locations on a fun-filled 4-hour tasting adventure. Get more info at topshelf.tours.
This video was produced by Indie Business Promotions, Indiana's most trusted production company. Visit indiebusinesspromotions.com for more information.